At 3:15 a.m. August 14, 2025, Russia's formidable logistics vessel, Port Olia 4, with a displacement of over 13,200 tons at 12,000 t, had just docked at the Astrakhan region's Olia port, penetrating more than 500 miles deep into Russian territory. It was poised to offload a crucial military cargo, estimated at $22 million USD, containing hundreds of Iranian-sourced Shite suicide drones, high-caliber artillery shells, and essential electronic components. The operation seemed perfectly secure. Olia Port, the vessel's destination, was heavily fortified by medium-range Buk M3 surface-to-air missile systems, a long-range 96L6 surveillance radar, and vigilant coastal reconnaissance forces. However, the Russians remained oblivious. The entire journey, from its departure in Bandar Abbas, Iran, across the vast Caspian Sea, until its arrival at Olia, African landscape, had been meticulously tracked by a clandestine Ukrainian strategic reconnaissance unit operating from the opposite Caspian shore, precisely as Russia's logistical defenses seemed impregnable, with containers being opened and cranes preparing for movement. The Ukrainian Lyuty An-196, a long-range attack UAV armed with a 165-pound, 75 kg shaped charge warhead, had already acquired its target. This wasn't a stroke of luck, nor did it operate alone. Leading the assault, flying 50 feet ahead at 1,000 feet altitude, were two Ukrainian-made UJ-22 airborne decoy drones, specifically designed to draw fire from the Buk M3 and Panzer S1 batteries protecting the port. The trio of aircraft advanced stealthily in an offset triangle formation towards the pier. This was a perfectly executed decoy-led strike, a sophisticated three-tiered tactic common in modern UAV warfare, where initial sacrifices pave the way for the decisive blow. Throughout its flight, Lyuty followed the two decoys. Each time the decoys emitted powerful signals, Russian radars immediately shifted their scans skyward, creating temporary blind corridors. Lyuty exploited these gaps, diving 2 to 2.5 miles deeper, making its undetected approach to Olia Port. This intricate dance of deception and penetration unfolded flawlessly, mirroring hundreds of hours of prior reconnaissance drone flight simulations. All three UAVs executed their roles with seamless coordination, traversing nearly 500 miles, 805 card command of Russian airspace unnoticed. At 3:40 a.m., with the decoys just under 18.6 miles, 30 kilometers from the target, a sudden surge of jamming at the 2.4 GHz band severed signals from the second decoy. The onboard processing system quickly identified the source, a Lear-3 electronic warfare complex, disguised on a Kamaz chassis, strategically placed in the container yard east of the port. Simultaneously, Russia's long-range NEBO-M radar detected two anomalous tracks at altitudes of 901,000 feet, 274,305 ms. In less than 10 seconds, the radar station triggered a Level 2 alert, painting the Air Defense Command screens with ominous red warning icons. The duty commander barked his urgent command: activate Panzer S1, defend Olia Port. From the port's northern fuel depot, the Panzer S1 battery sprang into action, its systems surging to maximum power. Its fire control radar frantically spun, locking onto both perceived threats. The 57 ESA missile tubes dramatically elevated as piercing warning sirens ripped through the night sky over Astrakhan. Just 14 seconds later, two 57 E6 erupted from their launchers, leaving fiery white trails across the dark expanse. In less than 20 seconds, both decoy UAVs disintegrated in spectacular explosions, sending two blazing fireballs and burning debris cascading into the Volga River. A collective sigh of relief filled the combat cabin. Clear, the targets are down, a voice confirmed. Little did they know, this was the cunning trap Ukraine had meticulously laid. The true game was just beginning. Less than 500 feet, a 457 miles to the south, the Lyuty An-196 pressed its advantage. As Russian radars remained fixed on the destroyed decoys, Lyuty executed a sharp 17 Drury's bank, a pre-programmed maneuver designed to exploit the fragile seams of fragmented radar beams. It slipped through a narrow, undetected blind corridor, evading a second radar lock. This was a masterful display of radar evasion, employing the very same tactics that had allowed Ukrainian UAVs to strike deep into Moscow, Kazan, and now Astrakhan on the Caspian shore. While the Panzer crews were still calibrating after their expenditure, the stealthy Dagger had already penetrated the outer defenses. Now just 9.5 miles, 15.3 kilometers from its prize, Port Olia 4. At its current velocity, it had a mere 4 minutes to reach the pier. At 03:46 am, within the subterranean Ukrainian control cabin, a sharp beep resonated. The UAV crew confirmed Luty has entered the attack corridor. Lock direction. Port Olia 4, Olia Pier. This marked the initiation of the final, critical phase, where even a momentary lapse could doom the drone to disintegration within the dense air defense network, preventing a historic strike. On the control screen, the ultimate target was now starkly visible, a massive cargo vessel nearly 600 feet, 183 miles long and 90 feet, 27 mi wide, displacing over 27,560 tons, 25,000 t. Its hull, constructed from multi-layered reinforced steel plating, was formidable. This was the Port Olia 4, in the critical phase of unloading specialized containers filled with Shahid UAV components from Iran. A high-value target, yet far from an easy conquest. The Ukrainian operators understood this perfectly, demanding absolute concentration. A flawlessly executed strike would be the hard-won payoff for countless sleepless nights of planning. The ship was guarded by 2 layers of notorious air defense. The Buk M3 system with its 9S-36 radar and 9R-30WAM heavy UAV Hunter missiles boasting ranges up to 43 miles, a 69 km, and the Panzer S-1 system, each unit valued at 15 million USD, engineered to intercept supersonic threats within a 12.5-mile radius, with a blistering reaction time of just 4 seconds. Intelligence reports confirmed a fresh consignment of Shahid Vumdarin 6-131s within the vessel's cargo holds, recently shipped from Iran. Estimates suggested over 50 containers of Shed 136 to Fun 31s were on Port Olia 4's deck, amounting to at least 350 to 400 suicide UAVs. This single shipment represented enough firepower to fuel Russia's long-range strikes on Ukrainian substations, thermal power plants, and fuel depots across central and western Ukraine for 2 to 3 weeks. Furthermore, the vessel carried 6 containers of electronic components and made by 5-650 Shade engines, directly imported from Iran. 4 crucial reserve fuel tanks, each containing nearly 5 280 gallons of aviation gasoline, enough to assemble and deploy hundreds of UAVs. 2 Lear 3 ground communication antenna systems, vital for synchronizing UAVs after unloading, and critically nearly 17 650 pounds of shaped explosives, cunningly disguised within containers labeled as civilian industrial cargo. With the target locked and confirmed in range, the control officer issued the final command: offset 4 degrees starboard, drop altitude. Activate passive, only guidance. Immediately, Luty executed a subtle bank, descending another 49 feet, 15 MeV, skimming just above the sea surface. It rode the radar reflection waves emanating from the pier walls, utilizing this ground clutter for concealment. Luty, a long-range suicide drone developed by Ukraine in 2024, was specifically engineered for audacious deep penetration sabotage missions. With a compact fuselage length of about 5 feet, a 1.5 meter and a 7-foot 2.1 meter wingspan, its carbon composite frame minimized weight, a Landry 167 key average A, and a devastating terminal attack velocity of 155 233 249 km in its final dive. This UAV had been perfected as the ultimate weapon for surprise strikes, where a single, precise hit could ignite a catastrophic chain reaction. Inside the control center, Ukrainian engineers initiated the final dive sequence as Luty autonomously locked onto the vessel's midsection, the critical zone housing the fuel compartments and UAV storage. At 03:49 am, with only 1.3 miles, 2.1 km remaining, the decisive attack was launched. The Luty, a long-range strike UAV ingeniously repurposed from the L-39 Albatros trainer platform, accelerated fiercely to nearly 130 mi for 209 km, plunging into the port side of Port Olia 4. The moment of impact was spectacular. A searing white flash erupted from the vessel's port side, instantaneously blossoming into an immense fireball, soaring over 330 feet high and casting an eerie glow across the entire Olia port complex. The sheer force of the shockwave ignited all fuel tanks below deck, generating an explosive pressure exceeding 40 pounds per square inch, enough to effortlessly rip through steel plating thicker than 0.8 inches on the cargo ship. The 165-pound shaped warhead pierced through 3 compartments, culminating in a devastating detonation within the engineering bay, the nerve center where critical control circuits and fueling systems were concentrated. A terrifying domino effect ensued as multiple Shahid UAV containers sequentially detonated, spewing fiery fragments into a relentless steel storm that rained down upon Pier 3. The powerful blast hurled cranes to the ground, set warehouse roofs ablaze, and tossed cargo trucks aside like toys. The thunderous roar reverberated across a staggering 12.5-mile radius. Astrakhan residents later recounted believing an earthquake had struck. Towering flames consumed the deck as Port Olia 4's hull began to list dangerously to port. Water surged into the gaping holds, transforming the colossal vessel into a raging inferno on the Caspian shore. At 3:50 a.m., a mere 48 seconds after impact, the pier's fire suppression system automatically activated. But it was already a futile gesture. The initial cataclysmic blast had already devoured the entire deck, where dozens of shard containers had been stacked, leaving a path of irreversible destruction. Each Shahid 136, weighing 440 pounds 200 kg and armed with an 88-pound warhead, when ignited, unleashed explosions akin to a barrage of rocket artillery. In under 3 minutes, at least 15 secondary explosions rocked the port complex to its foundations. Telegram footage from Astrakhan residents captured a terrifying column of flames hundreds of meters high, eerily illuminating the night sky. Fragments of containers and burning UAV wings rained down on warehouse roofs nearly 300 feet away, a stark reminder of the widespread devastation. Explosions continued to pound for nearly 20 minutes, forcing the immediate evacuation of residential areas surrounding the port. By 04:15 a.m., Port Olia 4 lay half submerged, its bow barely visible through the raging inferno. For the first 3 hours following the blast, Russia's Ministry of Defense maintained an uncharacteristic silence. Pro-Kremlin Telegram channels issued only vague, unsubstantiated reports. A fire has occurred at Olia Port's warehouse, cause under investigation. It wasn't until midday, August 14th, that Russia begrudgingly acknowledged material damage at a civilian port on the Volga, defiantly claiming no impact on military operations. Yet, commercial satellite images, promptly released, laid bare the stark truth: a massive cargo vessel, almost entirely obliterated. Pier 3, once bustling, was now a blackened ruin, its steel structures twisted and deformed. This was far more than just another strike. Port Olia 4 was no ordinary civilian cargo ship. It was a pivotal artery in the critical supply chain, ferrying Shahid UAVs from Iran across the Caspian and deep into Russian territory. With the vessel and its entire deadly cargo destroyed, Russia suffered a crippling loss of at least 300 Shahid drones in a single night. This catastrophic setback equated to losing 2 to 3 weeks of their sustained aerial strike capability against Ukraine. The daring strike served as a powerful demonstration. Despite their advanced sophistication, the Panzer S-1 and NIBM systems could be cunningly outmaneuvered by decoy drones. The Luty AN-196, flying at low to medium altitudes, proved virtually invisible to radar, exploiting systemic weaknesses. The vaunted Caspian defense system, once considered an impenetrable fortress, harbored fatal flaws that had been ruthlessly exposed. Immediately following the attack, Russia was forced to impose a complete lockdown on Olia Port, prohibiting all civilian and military docking for a minimum of 72 hours. They scrambled to deploy additional Panzer S-1 units and Podlet K-1 radars around Astrakhan, desperately attempting to seal the gaping holes in their air defense. Furthermore, the vital transport of Shade UAVs via the Caspian corridor was suspended, a crushing blow to Russia's entire logistics chain. For Ukraine, this represented a rare and profoundly strategic triumph. With a single Lyuty drone costing less than a Tesla Model 3, they annihilated a Shade shipment worth tens of millions of dollars, simultaneously shaking Russia's southern defense network to its core. On the night of August 14, 2025, in Astrakhan, Ukraine etched another indelible chapter into the annals of modern warfare. A solitary drone, navigating the cover of darkness, proved capable of shifting the entire strategic balance, shattering Russia's complacent belief in an unassailable rear area and exposing it as a fragile illusion.